You're the poetry man. You make things alright.
So you know what gets me? 1975 was one of the most competitive years in American music history. Elton John was everywhere. The Eagles were untouchable. Led Zeppelin owned the stadiums. And somehow in the middle of all that, a German disco group with no lyrics and a one-man studio project named after an explosion both hit the Billboard Hot 100. And that is not even the wildest story on this list. Today we are counting down 10 forgotten one-hit wonders from 1975 that had absolutely no business being famous. Number 10, Dynamite, Bazooka, 1975. Let me tell you about a man named Tony Camillo. Tony was a record producer from New Jersey who one afternoon in 1975 decided he did not need an actual band. He did not need real musicians showing up at a studio with opinions and schedules and contract demands. He would just do it himself. He played every instrument. He recorded every part. He invented a group name on the spot. He called them Bazooka. Because why not? Dynamite Part 1 hit number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 1975. It sat on the chart for 19 weeks. Radio stations across America played it constantly. People bought it. Kids loved it. Nobody had any idea that Bazooka was one man in a New Jersey recording studio who had essentially created an imaginary band for the afternoon and accidentally scored a top 10 hit. Tony Camillo never came close to repeating it. The imaginary band had one chart entry and then quietly ceased to exist, which is relatively easy when the band was never real in the first place. The song was called Dynamite. The band was called Bazooka. The man behind it was called Tony Camillo. You have heard of exactly none of these. And yet for 19 weeks in 1975, this was on the radio. Constantly. Number 9, Rockin' Chair, Gwen McCrae, 1975. Here is something that genuinely bothers me. Gwen McCrae was an exceptional soul singer from Pensacola, Florida, who had been recording since the late 1960s and building a following on the R&B circuit without ever breaking through to the mainstream pop chart. And then in 1975, Rockin' Chair happened.
Let me be your rocking chair. Just rock your...
The song hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. 9. For a deep soul vocalist who had been working for years without mainstream recognition, that was a genuine commercial breakthrough. The kind of chart position that was supposed to be the beginning of something. It was not the beginning of something. It was the entire thing. Gwen McCrae never returned to the pop top 40. The audience that found her through Rockin' Chair apparently found her, enjoyed the song, and then did not particularly follow up on discovering the rest of her catalog, which is a shame because the rest of her catalog was excellent.
All night long till the morning.
She continued recording through the 1980s and maintained a loyal following in R&B and soul circles. But the mainstream pop audience that briefly welcomed her in 1975 moved on without leaving a forwarding address. Rockin' Chair is a beautifully constructed piece of soul music that deserved to start something much bigger than it did.
Sexy, huh? Ooh, let me be your rocking chair.
The fact that it remained Gwen McCrae's only pop top 40 entry is one of those small music industry injustices that nobody in the industry bothered to address. They rarely do. Number 8, Poetry Man, Phoebe Snow, 1975.
Make me laugh.
Phoebe Snow was 19 years old when she recorded the album that contained Poetry Man. And the thing about Phoebe Snow is that she was genuinely extraordinary. Voice, songwriting, musical range. All of it operating at a level that most artists spend their entire careers attempting to reach and never quite getting there.
You're the poetry man. You make things alright.
Poetry Man hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the spring of 1975. A warm, intimate folk pop song built around a relationship with a married man and delivered with a vocal restraint that made it sound effortless while being technically anything but. Critics understood immediately what she was. Audiences responded. Everything pointed toward a sustained commercial career.
I have a giggling teenage crush, then I'm a
And then life intervened in the most painful way possible. Phoebe Snow's daughter Valerie was born with severe brain damage following birth complications and required round-the-clock care. Snow made the decision to prioritize her daughter over her career. She turned down tours. She declined promotional opportunities. She did whatever was necessary to be present for Valerie, who she cared for personally until Valerie's death in 2007. She continued making music on her own terms throughout those years. She never had another pop top 10 hit. And when people discuss the great underachieved careers in American music, the talent that should have produced more than the circumstances allowed, Phoebe Snow belongs near the top of that conversation.
You're the poetry man, you make things alright.
Poetry Man showed exactly who she was. Everything after it showed exactly who she chose to be. Number 7, I'm Not Lisa, Jessi Colter, 1975.
I'm not Lisa.
So here is a detail that reframes this entire story immediately. Jessi Colter was Waylon Jennings' wife. And if you know anything about outlaw country music in the 1970s, you understand what that means. Waylon Jennings was one of the most aggressively anti-establishment figures in American music.
Her smile told no night.
The whole point of outlaw country was rejecting Nashville's production machinery and commercial compromise. Jessi Colter was right there in the middle of all of that. And then she recorded a quiet piano ballad about a woman being mistaken for someone else by a man who cannot let go of a past relationship. And it crossed over to pop radio. And it hit number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the spring of 1975.
I'm not Lisa.
Country artists crossing over to pop in 1975 was not a common occurrence. The formats were genuinely separate commercial worlds. And Jessi Colter had done it with a song that was deeply personal, musically understated, and completely at odds with the loud commercial pop surrounding it on the chart. She never had another pop top 40 hit. The Nashville machinery she and Waylon had spent years rejecting was not particularly motivated to help her capitalize on the crossover success.
Till the sunlight.
And the pop audience that briefly adopted her in 1975 did not follow her back to country. I'm Not Lisa is a genuinely beautiful recording. The woman who made it deserved considerably more from the pop chart than one visit in the spring of 1975. But that is all she got. Number 6, Love Won't Let Me Wait, Major Harris, 1975.
The time is right.
There are songs that are bold in the most straightforward possible way. No clever literary devices. No hidden meaning. No layers to unpack. Just a man who wants you to know exactly what is on his mind and has absolutely no interest in being subtle about it. Love Won't Let Me Wait is that song. Major Harris was a Philadelphia soul singer who had been working the R&B circuit for years before this recording. He had been a member of the Delphonics and then the Futures before going solo. He knew his way around a studio. He was a competent and experienced professional. And then Love Won't Let Me Wait hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 1975 and briefly made him one of the most recognized names in American soul music.
We'll take a flight and spend.
The production was warm and unhurried. Harris's delivery matched it perfectly. Radio embraced it completely. His follow-up single Jealousy peaked at number 33. After that, the chart entries dried up entirely. Here is what makes this story interesting beyond the standard one-hit wonder arc. Major Harris was not an unknown who got lucky. He was an experienced musician with genuine credentials who finally got his commercial moment and watched it close just as quickly as it had opened. He kept performing through the decades that followed. He died in 2012. Love Won't Let Me Wait remains his entire Billboard Hot 100 legacy. 5 weeks. Number 5, Everything and Nothing Simultaneously. Number 5, Fallon in Love, Hamilton, Joe Frank and Reynolds, 1975.
Baby, baby, falling in love. I'm falling in love.
The name Hamilton, Joe Frank and Reynolds sounds like a law firm that handles mid-level commercial disputes. It is not a law firm. It was a soft pop group from Los Angeles whose commercial peak lasted approximately one summer and produced exactly one number one hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Fallon in Love hit number one in August 1975 and spent 2 weeks at the top. It was a smooth, warm, completely inoffensive piece of soft pop that radio embraced with the specific enthusiasm radio reserves for songs that sound pleasant and require absolutely nothing of the listener. The band had actually existed since the late 1960s and had released a successful single called Don't Pull Your Love in 1971 that reached number 4. So technically they are not a one-hit wonder if you count both entries. But the gap between 1971 and 1975 was wide enough, and the commercial silence after 1975 was complete enough that their story feels like one. After Fallon, In Love the group went through lineup changes, attempted further releases, and watched the chart decline to the point where further commercial investment stopped making sense. A number one single in August 1975. That is the high point. Everything before it was building toward it, and everything after was moving away from it. Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Reynolds had their moment. The moment ended. They had absolutely no control over either of those things. Nobody does. Number 4, Lady Marmalade, LaBelle, 1975. Right. So this one is sung entirely in French and English, and involves a working woman in New Orleans inviting a man back to her room. And it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. I just want to make sure we are all clear on what happened here. A song with French lyrics that opened with a phrase most American radio listeners in 1975 could not translate hit the top of the American mainstream chart. And stayed there for a week. LaBelle were Patti LaBelle, Nona Hendryx, and Sarah Dash, a trio who had been recording together since the early 1960s under various names without breaking through commercially. By 1975, they had transformed themselves into something genuinely unusual for the mainstream pop landscape. The outfits were theatrical and futuristic. The sound was raw and unapologetic. They did not look or sound like what radio was comfortable with. Lady Marmalade cut through anyway because it was simply impossible to ignore. The production was built around a New Orleans funk groove that grabbed you before the first verse arrived and did not let go. Patti LaBelle's vocal performance left no room for indifference. The group disbanded shortly after. Patti LaBelle went on to a solo career that placed her among the most celebrated vocalists of her generation. But LaBelle as a group had one number one single, 1 week at the top, and then it was over. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? They never came back. Number 3, How Long? Ace, 1975. Here is a band that should have been enormous, and somehow was not. Ace were a British rock band who arrived in America in 1975 with a sound that sat comfortably somewhere between pub rock and classic American soul. Warm, unpretentious, completely confident. How Long was their debut single. It hit number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. For a British band releasing their first American single, that is an extraordinary result. And the song itself deserved it. The lyric is a direct confrontation about infidelity. A man asking his partner how long she has been seeing someone else, delivered with a restraint that made the emotion more powerful rather than less. Paul Carrack's vocal performance was remarkable. The production matched it perfectly. American audiences responded immediately. The song spent 18 weeks on the chart. Concert promoters called. The future looked clear. Then the follow-up stalled, and the one after that. And by 1977, Ace had dissolved without ever coming close to matching their debut. Paul Carrack went on to have one of the more unusual careers in British music. He sang the lead vocal on Squeeze's Tempted. He was the lead vocalist for Mike and the Mechanics on The Living Years. He had a solo hit with How Long in 1996. He kept finding ways back. But Ace as a band got one shot at American mainstream success. Number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 with their very first single, Then Nothing. The How Long question turned out to apply to their own chart career as much as to the lyric. Number 2, Fly Robin Fly, Silver Convention. 6 words. That is the entire lyric of this song. Fly Robin Fly, up to the sky. 6 words repeated over a disco beat for 3.5 minutes. And it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in November 1975. Silver Convention were a German disco group produced by Michael Kunz and Sylvester Levay. The group did not actually perform on the recording. Session musicians and session vocalists recorded everything.
Up to the sky.
The Silver Convention name was essentially a brand rather than a band, a commercial vehicle for disco production that happened to work spectacularly well. 6 words. Number 1 in America. This is a documented historical fact that you are simply going to have to accept. The production was excellent. The groove was undeniable. Disco in late 1975 was beginning its commercial ascent toward the heights it would reach in 1977 and 1978, and Fly Robin Fly caught the wave early. American radio programmers heard it and played it because their listeners responded to it, and their listeners responded to it because the groove was genuinely irresistible regardless of how many words were involved. Silver Convention had one more significant American hit, Get Up and Boogie in 1976, which reached number 2. So again, technically not a pure one-hit wonder. But their entire American commercial existence lasted 18 months and produced 2 chart entries before disappearing entirely. 6 words. Number 1, Up to the Sky. I still cannot fully process this. Number 1, Lovin' You, Minnie Riperton, 1975. So here is the thing about this song that most people do not know. And once you know it, you will never hear it the same way again. Minnie Riperton wrote Lovin' You as a lullaby. Not a metaphorical lullaby or a song described as having a lullaby quality. An actual lullaby, written for her actual baby daughter. Her husband Richard Rudolph helped finish the lyrics. The baby they were writing it for was named Maya. Maya Rudolph, the comedian and actress. That is who this song was written for as a bedtime song. Lovin' You hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1975 and spent 1 week at the top. It is built around a 5-octave vocal range that Minnie Riperton possessed almost uniquely. That whistle register at the end of the song reaches notes that most human voices cannot physically access. She makes it sound like breathing. The song was her only pop top 10 hit. And then in 1976, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She continued recording through her illness with a public honesty about what she was experiencing that was unusual for the era. She recorded 2 more albums. She became a spokeswoman for the American Cancer Society.
And every time that
Minnie Riperton died in July 1979. She was 31 years old. The lullaby she wrote for her baby daughter has been heard hundreds of millions of times. Maya Rudolph grew up knowing the most beautiful song her mother ever recorded was written specifically for her. That is not a music industry story. That is just a human one. 10 artists, 10 songs, 10 chart entries from 1975 that burned bright and disappeared. A one-man imaginary band. A German disco group with 6 words. A lullaby that hit number 1. And a woman who chose her daughter over her career without hesitating for a single second. The 1975 chart was a genuinely wild place, and none of these artists knew their moment would be the only one they got. Which story hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments and subscribe to Rock Inferno for more music history that sounds too wild to be true.